welcome again to Creative Connections. My name is Gary Blanchard, and tonight I have as my guest author and a person who offers writing services, Ed Londergan.
Thank you.
Ed, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I was looking at your biography, and it states that you've had a fascination with the written word since elementary school.
I have. When I was a kid, I was probably in first grade, I guess, and the teacher used to have this thing where she'd put a word up on the board and you'd try and make as many words out of it as you could. I always came up with the most. And the next year I was in second grade and they had some writing contest and I did best. And I just used to write stories all the time, and yeah, it started when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have words that you just really love?
Spiffy. Spiffy's a good word. That's
Okay.
an underused word. Spiffy's a good word. I think some words are overused. You see tremendous everywhere, strong. It's like, okay. No, I guess I never thought of that. Not really. Nothing
Okay.
that I could end up saying, yeah, these are my favorite words.
I think my favorite word is penultimate.
Oh, that's another one that's not used very often.
No, it's not used very often.
No.
When I teach, I use that a lot with my students.
Yeah.
So they may not learn anything else, but at the end of the semester, they know what
that,
penultimate means.
They know that, okay.
And I'm not going to tell the folks out there, pick up your dictionary and check it out. So when did you decide to make writing a career?
It was April 14th of 2016.
Okay.
About 11 o'clock in the morning. No, I ended up having some time. Well, I worked for 25 years at All America Financial in Worcester, former State Mutual, now Hanover Insurance. When All America went out of business, I left there, did some consulting, ended up having a job in the energy efficiency field, which was kind of neat, but they were in Lexington, so it was a bit of a drive. So when I left All America, I worked in Boston, Hartford, Springfield twice, Warwick, Rhode Island, and Lexington. A little too much driving.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, we moved to a new house in Warren in 2013, told her, you know what, I'm tired of the driving, I'm going to find something local, which I did. At a company in Spencer, 20 minutes from the house. It was absolutely wonderful. And then they announced after I was 8 months, we're moving to Framingham.
Oh, gee.
It's like, no. So anyway, so I started going to Framingham. And it didn't turn out the way that we thought. They brought in a manager. She didn't know what she was doing. It was a difficult situation. So I had some time off, and I told my wife, you know what, I've been writing, and I want to do this full time. And she went, okay. It's like, that's the best conversation we've ever had. So I made the decision that night, called my boss the next day because I was going to be out for a few days. And she said, don't bother coming back. Just send me an email. Bam. And 10 seconds later, I was self-employed.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you offer a lot of writing services.
I do.
And you have one book on job search tools and techniques.
That is, I brought them all. That's this one right here. Job search tips and techniques. As a writer, I'm asked to write a lot of different things. And I had people come and say, can you help me with my resume? How about cover letters? What questions should I ask in an interview? You know, and I've hired and fired people for years. So one day I just say, you know, I'm just going to write this and get it out of my system. So I wrote this. It's all of about 100 pages, but it's quick and simple stuff about, you know, how to look for a job, trying to decide, what do you really want? Do you want the commute? Do you want the stress? Do you need the money? Go through the whole process and figure it out first, and then learn how to network and find a job. People are very scared of talking to people they don't know.
Yeah.
Call reluctance, basically, fear of rejection. And how to get over that, and then, you know, the things about when you actually go in for an interview. Dress professionally, have questions, read the job description more than once. I mean, it's simple things, you know,
Yeah,
we kind of
yeah.
chuckle, but a lot of people don't know that.
Well, yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think networking particularly is important. When I think of some of the jobs that I've gotten in the last few years, they have been through knowing somebody
Exactly.
Who knows somebody who has a need.
Right.
And, you know, so that's very important.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And I talk at Quincy Community College. A guy I know has he teaches 2 business classes. So he asked me to come in and talk about job stuff. And Last time I was in there, I was talking about fulfilling your passion. I said, does anybody have a passion? One kid said, you know what, I love cars. My dad is a mechanic. I want to open a classic car restoration business, and he had it all laid out, and it's like perfect. I said, anybody else? One girl says, well, I like to smoke pot. It's like, okay, that's a passion, I guess. That's a good thing. So what we did was we turned that into how she could end up searching for a position as a quality control consultant for all the pot stores, manufacturers, whatever, here.
Yeah.
So we kind of came up with a job plan for that.
You know, and I think that that's the important thing that, you know, sometimes we don't even stop to realize all the possible jobs that are out there.
They're everywhere.
You know, we ask a 5-year-old what they want to be when they grow up.
It took me 40 years to figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I figured it out.
Yeah. So you went from that to writing fiction.
Well, actually, it was the other way around. I wrote the fiction first.
Oh, okay.
I had done quite a few stories, short stories. You know, it was when I was in college, I wrote and submitted things, and you know, I had them published. But that's where you get a free copy of the magazine.
Right.
You know,
right.
here's your payment. It's like, okay, but you get to see your name in print. And then when I was at All America, I did a bunch of industry articles, which was nice. Then I started doing some research. I'm a big history nut.
Okay.
Love local history. And we lived in West Brookfield for a number of years. And the whole story of the first settlement and King Philip's War and the raid and siege on Foster Hill and all that stuff really caught my attention. So I did a lot of research just because I loved it. And this is the result, The Devil's Elbow, which was my first book. And it is the story of an orphan young man who comes with his aunt and uncle to the first settlement in what's now West Brookfield, Quabog Plantation on what's now Foster's Hill, and him marrying the girl of his dreams, the kid he knew, little girl he knew back home in Ipswich, and the beginning of their life together during the beginning of King Philip's War. So that was a lot of fun to write.
Okay, so what kind of research goes into writing a historical book?
Oh, for this, I probably read 40 or 50 books, talked with I don't know how many people, drove around and went to all the historical sites, spent hours on the websites looking at stuff. I probably put in a couple hundred hours of research for this. Now, I had never written a book before, and when I started this, I wrote 180,000 words. Yeah, that's what I said too, 100, and it's like, okay, well, I ended up cutting 80,000 words just because I didn't know what I was doing. So it was a great learning experience. But this one, The Long Journey Home, is actually the second book in the series. This is a 3-part series.
Okay.
This is the continuation of the main character's story, from them going to Springfield after the attack and siege on Foster Hill, the rest of King Philip's War, and how he got involved in a thing that actually happened. I just love talking about this. It was called the Great Rescue. In Hatfield, which was a small settlement out there, south of Deerfield, in 1677, there was an Indian attack, and 21 people were taken captive and brought to Canada. Among those are 2 pregnant women and 3 little kids. I mean, like little kids. 2 of the men, the husbands of the pregnant women, Ben Waite and Stephen Jennings, they decided, we're going after our neighbors and friends. We're going to bring them home. They went to the governor to try and get money. They got basically a letter of credit to negotiate the release. They go to Albany. They're arrested by the military commander and sent to see the governor in New York City. Now, this is in October. They were taken in September, about a month before. The governor says this guy's an idiot, sends them back to Albany. They get a guide. They start going up the western shore of Lake George. He deserts them. They make their way all the way to Canada, to Quebec, on their own in the middle of winter, up the western shore of Lake George and Lake Champlain into Canada. They meet with Governor Frontenac, and he ransoms their friends and neighbors and family, and they all make it back to Hatfield, May of the following year.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so I had Jack, the main character, involved in that too. So.
Okay.
And the third book, just finished the manuscript.
Wonderful.
It was like pulling bad teeth. It was horrible to write. It was just terrible. But I just finished that one, The Farmhouse. And these cover the two main characters, Jack and Becky Parker, their life, basically, 1650 to 1725. And I was looking at doing the rest of the Parker family. I'm following the fictional Parker family through 350 years.
Okay.
I couldn't do it like this because it would be yay long. I'd be dead and no one would read it, you know, one of those deals.
Right.
So I changed it so that the whole premise is there's a retired college professor, inherits the family farm in West Brookfield, comes back, finds out his family were the original hoarders. They never threw anything but the trash out. And he goes through and tells the rest of the family story that way, through selected things he finds. Of course, I mix it in with a love story. He falls in love with a local high school art teacher. They end up getting married. His long-lost brother, who's wandered for 20 years, comes back. You know, so I move it all.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, so that's an interesting way of covering that period.
It is. It is.
To kind of have it, all this found information.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because there was a time when people wrote everything.
All the time. All the time.
You know, you look at people like Thoreau and Emerson.
John Adams, Thomas
who,
Jefferson. Yeah.
Wrote journals all the time.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And we have so much of their lives that they have recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And, now we're sending emails.
Right. And if things go poof, guess what? It's all gone. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Technology is wonderful when it works. I long for a simpler time of pen and paper.
Yeah. So when do you expect the third book to be available?
Probably beginning of the year.
Okay.
Okay. I had a publisher for my first book, and after about a year, she called and said, "Have you thought about self-publishing?" It's like, "Where's this going, Liz?" And she closed her company and went back to school. And so I self-published this after that, and I just self-published this too because I had people asking for it. So I'm actually going to try and find a publisher for this next one, but my guess is it might be kind of tight, so I may just self-publish it myself.
Yeah, and in this day and age, you can get a quality paperback book
Just like
done,
this.
self-published.
Yeah.
And I don't think, other than with Barnes and Noble,
Right.
I don't think that there is the prejudice against self-publishing that there once was.
Not as much.
Yeah.
There is still some prejudice.
Yeah. However, I'm reminded of the story of Thoreau when his publisher decided they needed to get rid of the 800 copies of his book
that they hadn't sold
that they
in 2
hadn't
years.
sold, and they sent it back to him, and he wrote to somebody and said, "I now have 1,000 books in my library, 800 of which I've written myself."
That's about right, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'll think of that too. But yeah, historical fiction, it's just a great way to tell a story because you can make a bunch of it up because it's fiction.
Well, yeah. How do you avoid making historical mistakes?
I try not to. Sometimes, one of the problems, I tell the students in my writing workshops, is when you're going to do research, that's fine. But don't get sucked down the rabbit hole because you could end up spending years doing research and never write anything. Sometimes, in the new book I'm doing on Bathsheba Spooner, famous murder case, I could spend literally months doing research into this family. So I've limited myself, and I'm not going too deep in this. I know what I need to know. Sometimes you may end up taking a wrong turn because you only go this deep instead of that deep.
Right.
And someone may catch you on it, but a lot of people don't know. So, and if they do say, by the way, this isn't quite right, it's fiction.
Yeah, yeah, because there are times when I'll read something that is set in an earlier time, and then for some reason they're checking their cell phone
Yeah, that kind of stuff I don't do.
Which,
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
hadn't been invented for
right.
another few decades.
Yeah.
So
1918, they don't check their Fitbit.
right, yeah. Yeah, so you've also written articles for local papers.
Oh, I have. Oh, sure.
How does that differ from writing fiction?
There are certain limits as to the number of words. There's a style, the AP style, Associated Press style, which is really, it's very simple. It's basically a reporting of the facts. You have a couple quotes in there, and you lay out, a very simple beginning, all the contact stuff or whatever it is at the end, and you kind of fill it in. It's easy to write those stories. I mean, it takes no time whatsoever. From me, anyway.
Yeah. So this is something that you enjoy doing, I would assume.
I love it. I love it. What I love is helping people learn to write too. When I was 18, my father worked at Rightline in Worcester, and they had this psychologist, I guess, come in and do all these evaluations for all of the people that worked for him and whatever. He asked this guy, he said, my son's 18, he doesn't know what he's going to do. Have him come in. So he gave me this career profile thing. And there were a list of 40 things, and the first one was a writer, and the second one was a teacher. So what did I do? Something else completely. And 40 years later, I came back and went, oh yeah, that's what it should. But I love helping people learn to write. So that's when I have my writing workshops. And I have one coming up November 4th, Sunday, November 4th, the Salem Cross Inn. It's a Sunday. We go from 10 to 2:30, and it's $95 and I include lunch.
Oh, that's good.
Last March when I did one, we had 18 people, and I talked for 6.5 hours because everybody just stayed and asked questions, which was great. But yeah, that's always good. That's always fun. And I cover everything from how to get story ideas to how to write dialogue, how to write narrative, settings, location, character development, a lot of character development. I love character development, a lot of fun. To publishing, I go through the entire process. So it's always good. But people there have a lot of good questions, and we do writing exercises. And some of the stuff that people come up with are amazing. In the 10 minutes they write 3 paragraphs, and it's like, that's really good.
And I think that it sounds like you help people to recognize the ability that they have.
Exactly.
That perhaps they have been somehow told that they don't have.
Or that they think they don't have.
Yeah.
I can't write very well. I've always stunk at that. Well, what do you mean? Well, I can't put them all. Well, let's figure out how you put your ideas down on paper.
Yeah.
Well, these days.
Right.
Actually, the neatest way to write is by longhand.
Okay.
There are times when I get sick of staring at a computer screen. I do it all day. And at night, I'll just grab a legal pad and a pen, and I will just start writing, and it's like, this is the way it's supposed to be. Of course, then I have to go in and transcribe my writing, which I can barely read myself, so,
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
And that's, I think, the one advantage that I've found writing at the computer is that I don't have to then retype it.
Exactly.
But,
and there's spell check.
Yes, spell check.
Yeah.
Which, as you know, the trouble is that sometimes the word is spelled correctly, it's just the wrong word.
Wrong word in the wrong place. I do that all the time. When I type, I make 2 mistakes. A-M, always ends up with M-A.
Okay.
Ma.
Yeah.
You spell check and it's good. And I-ma, it's like I am. Well, and I also, in would or should or could, I transpose the L and a D.
Okay.
No idea why. I always do it.
I do that with several words myself, and the worst of it is I'm typing like this.
Oh, okay.
Because I never learned to type, so I'm kind of a 2-finger typer.
I did, but my typing teacher would roll over in her grave if she saw what I did. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Miss Sullivan.
Yeah.
Not my fault.
Yeah. So, what's it like to... Have you been given assignments on topics that you really aren't interested in?
Some. I do a lot of writing for a financial planning firm out of Boston. And it's this a quick piece. It's called Tidbits. It's 4 items of interest, 2 sentences, a link, and a little headline, whatever, which is a lot of fun. It can be all sorts of stuff. But then, you know, they'll need this other piece. They call it a lead generation piece. And sometimes the topic is like, ugh. You know, Social Security changes over, or Medicare, you get into, and it's like you want to shoot yourself. And it's like, oh my dear God. And yeah, sometimes I'll be asked, geez, can you write this for a newsletter? And I try to bring them in another direction. But yeah, sometimes it's difficult to jump on board with the idea.
Yeah,
Because that too, that is technically and legally goes through compliance. So you have to be on the money with everything. You can't make a mistake in that. And sometimes it can be complicated. So you have to do a lot of research to make sure that the tax code says this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is kind of tough, but I guess I just jump into it and go, all right, they're paying me for it, why not? What the hell?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. So I was talking a while back with Gary Lippincott.
Oh, sure.
And he said he's now at a point in his career where he can pick and choose the jobs that he wants. So he's not stuck doing things that really don't interest him.
I'm ghostwriting a book right now for a guy, and it's a very dark subject, and it's about 3 10-year-old boys who meet at Dachau concentration camp during World War II. And they go through sterilization surgery. And the idea was, you know, that's what happened to them, and then they meet again 30 years later and what their life has been like. He took it in a couple other directions, which it just gets darker and darker.
Yeah.
I'm having difficulty with that, you know. I committed to it, I'll do it, but it's just a very difficult subject to write about.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you do any editing work for
I
people?
do. I edit. I've edited a couple books. Great book, In Laguna by Kathy Sloan. I edited this book about 2 years ago. Great story. She's a wonderful writer. She's working on another book, but that was my funnest book, as they said, to edit. I was literally going through it, and I'd have to stop because I got 30 pages ahead, and I'm reading instead of editing.
Right.
So I had to go back and actually do it. Yeah. So I do that. Sure.
Yeah. Do you find it harder to edit your own work?
I never edit my own work. I can't. I ask everybody else to read it. For instance, the new book, what I've done with these is I will, when I'm satisfied with the manuscript, I will end up having it printed out. I have 6 of them printed out. I get 6 people to agree to read it and comment on it within 3 weeks. I give them the manuscript and a red pen. And I tell them, I know what's good, tell me what's not. And they go through it, and that's when I get comments that I never thought of, or they go, you kidding me? And then I'm able to go through and make those changes. Then I send it to an editor.
Okay.
And I have an editor in Hardwick, Christy Bertini, and she does wonders too. So, but yeah, you never edit your own work.
But I totally agree with you.
Never, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to use your writing services or wanted to get in touch with you for the workshop, how would they do that?
You can connect with me on my website. It's edlondergan.com, edlondergan.com. Or you can send me an email at ed.londergan, Londergan, @gmail.com. Or if you want, you can call me, 413-436-7901.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, is there a question that you wish I would have asked that I did not ask?
No, I don't think so. Any you wish you'd asked that you haven't?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, I can talk forever. My mother always said that. So yeah.
So we have the Devil's Elbow.
Devil's Elbow.
The Long Journey Home.
First one. Second one.
And the new one is called
The Farmhouse.
The Farmhouse.
And
so if you want some good reading, learn a little history along the way, Ed is your guy to go to.
And next time I'll come back and tell you about Bathsheba Spooner.
Wonderful.
That's going to be made into a movie. I'll be famous when that one's done.
All right, great.
All right, thank you, Gary.
Okay, so this has again been Creative Connections. Thank you for being with us, and we'll see you again soon.